To call to the microphone are Ray Shadis, Jared Kobe, and Terry Caldwell. Right?
Yes, Aldous, our state nuclear engineer. We're old friends. I tried to get him fired when he worked in the same position in Maine. Oh well. We've been friends anyway. Just quickly, I wouldn't get into this except that Wayne introduced the general topic of the tsunamis and the NRC's notion that these don't occur on the East Coast. If you go to the Maine Geologic Survey website, you'll find that there was a landslide, an underwater landslide on the Grand Banks in 1924, and that the tsunami that resulted when it hit the Newfoundland coast put 90-foot waves up into the bays in Newfoundland, 90 foot. So I really have to say that we're concerned about the quality of information and research at NRC. If you say that does not happen on the East Coast. This starts with your NRC temporary instruction report. As for the benefit of the folks here, NRC did send inspection teams out to the nuclear power plants to take a look at accident mitigation systems and to look at Fukushima-related vulnerabilities in those power plants. At San Onofre, this is a little excerpt from the report, temporary instruction report at San Onofre. The licensee identified and documented that several Unit 3 electrical cable tunnel manholes had damaged seals. An additional issue was identified by the inspectors concerning the water tightness of the manholes, particularly the 4.5-inch diameter inspection covers on manholes M8319 and 322 were not positively sealed or controlled to prevent uncontrolled water intrusion into the Unit 3 electrical cable tunnels during the maximum design basis flood event. Licensee entered this into the corrective action program. Inspectors plan to conduct further inspection of the flood protection measures. The inspection report for this temporary inspection for Vermont-Yankee contains no reference whatsoever to inspection of the cable tunnels, cable vaults, underground cables, and conduits. And yet, last year, at this annual assessment meeting, Mr. Paul Blanche raised the issue of flooded electrical cables at Vermont-Yankee, and which was contained in the March 14th inspection report. It's troublesome that NRC should drop concern on this issue simply because Vermont-Yankee has entered into a 6-month periodic inspection system. I dare say that as we sit here in this auditorium with the rain pouring down outside, that the electrical cables at Vermont-Yankee are being flooded even as we speak. These are safety-related electrical cables. NRC, in its generic letter 2007-1, inaccessible or underground power cable failures that disable accident mitigation systems or cause plant transients, identifies the fact that if you wet cables that are not designed to be wet, they can short out, not only short out, but burn out other cables. And in fact, be the initiating event for a full-scale plant accident. We want to just reference Fukushima. I'm sorry if I'm running late. I have a hard time speaking quickly.
All right.
So,
If you could wrap up
and
here in a
plus,
couple
with,
seconds,
you know,
I'd appreciate it.
here's the deal. NRC's job is safety. This is about safety. It's not about whether I don't like the color of nuclear plants or I believe in the employees or even in you guys. It's not about that. It's about identifying the issues and squaring up to them and addressing them. And in the case of Fukushima, yes, you had two big natural events in sequence. And NRC seems to comfort itself in its public statements that that can't occur here. It's very unlikely that that's going to occur here. We're not going to have a flood and an earthquake all at the same time, and so, we're scot-free. However, flooded electrical cables may well have been a contributor in the Fukushima accident. You remember the news stories and the photographs of the workers who went into the turbine building basement at Fukushima Unit 1 and overtopped their boots and got a dose of radiation because it was contaminated water that they got into their boots. If you look back at that news story, you'll find out that what they were doing was stringing new electrical cable to one of the critical pumps.
In the interest of time, I think you've brought along a number of very good questions. Let's see if we can get
Let me just say this in one sentence, okay?
Okay.
If you have wet electrical cables that aren't designed for it and they short out, the power is interrupted potentially, not only from off-site, but from your emergency diesel generators and your batteries. And that's power to your instrumentation, so you can tell what the hell the reactor's doing. It's power to your controls, so you can control the reactor. It's power to your accident mitigation equipment. So, NRC, yes, taking the broad, long look, but you have not come back home to see what the problem is that's going on right now as we speak with Vermont-Yankee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. And you're absolutely right. This is a safety issue that we need to look at. I'm going to give a sort of a broad perspective, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dave Spindler to talk about Vermont-Yankee specific. Okay, you mentioned a generic letter 2007-01 as a generic letter. A generic letter, for those in the audience who are not aware, is a communication by the NRC to industry that represents a pertinent safety issue or concern that the NRC has that provides information to licensees and will oftentimes require licensees to take some sort of actions to rectify that issue. And this issue of underground cables is not one that is one that we take lightly. There's been a lot of effort on the part of industry based on pressure from the NRC and based on feedback that we've gotten from individuals like Mr. Shadis and Mr. Blanche that have caused us to assure that licensees have proactive programs to evaluate those potential vaults and underground areas where they do have electrical cables that are safety related, and to make sure that they are kept dry, particularly if they are not cables that are designed and tested to be in a submerged environment. So that's a general national picture. I'd like Dave or Sarah to perhaps represent what is transpiring at Vermont-Yankee. Yeah, Wayne, go ahead.
And this is just on the design at San Onofre. I believe what they're concerned about is not getting the cable wet. They're concerned about getting water through that manhole into the buildings where the safety-related equipment is and flooding the building out. It's not. I don't believe that's a cable issue. Just to clear that up.
When I first came to Vermont-Yankee last year, this was an issue that I kind of sunk my teeth into. And one of the things that we found was that the wiring that's in these manholes that you're talking about are really designed for wet-dry applications. But our stance from the NRC is that that does not mean fully submerged or for submerged for long periods of time. So that's where the violation came from, as far as, you know, the licensee needed to correct the problem. Since then, the corrective actions have taken place where they are pumping out these manholes more often. They are identifying all the wiring that is safety related. They are coming up with a program that is going to be able to maintain these manholes dry, and then they will come up with their own permanent corrective action. But right now, they are actively doing it, and we, as part of our sampling, we actually inspect these manholes to make sure they are dry.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
once every 6 months is what we're talking about for inspection.
We're walking. As far as the samples that go in the ROP, you're absolutely right. That is the minimum required. But we walk past these manholes all the time when they're pumping them out. We make sure that they're doing it.
Okay. Thank you. Can we move to Jared Cobb, please? Ray, you did have a number of great questions. That's why I gave you a lot of latitude on time. Unfortunately, I can't do that very often.